as the MCU cooked. It felt like we were building up good momentum with Deadpool. Well, I never really thought of Deadpool and Wolverine truly as MCU film. I understand it's Marvel Studios, of course. It is MCU canon, of course. But inherent to everything about it that actually made it work is not that it is an MCU proper film. It's that it's the bookend, the epilogue to the Fox X-Men universe. Everything that is about that movie that made you go, I'm excited for it, is because it felt like Ryan Reynolds was in control. It felt like a Ryan Reynolds project, not a Kevin Feige project. So as soon as they're like, it's going to be R-rated, then you're excited. But that's Ryan Reynolds defending Deadpool, not Kevin Feige making MCU. And it ties into the TVA and the multiverse and all the stuff we're doing. But it feels like all of that is meant to, like, we're borrowing from the MCU to serve this bookend epilogue. So I never really thought of Deadpool as like a big win for MCU. It was a big win for Ryan Reynolds. It was a great send-off for Fox X-Men. It was very entertaining, and some credit has to go to Marvel Studios, but it's more like giving them credit for allowing Ryan Reynolds to just do his thing and put an R-rated movie in their franchise. But if you look aside from that, last year you had Echo and Agatha, which were kind of like these little niche TV shows. Before that was The Marvels, which was woo. And then before that was Secret Invasion. And before that was Guardians 3. Guardians 3, I have it in my top 10. But also, I credit that to James Gunn. He wrote that way before all this stuff, before things started to go downhill. And it's very much a James Gunn film. So credit to them for letting James Gunn make the movie he wanted to make. But what was right before that? Quantumania. And I just look at Phase 5, and it's all of these projects that the MCU as a whole is not in a good place. They don't have the cohesiveness. There's no forward momentum on the characters. You don't feel like there's ongoing character arcs. There's references to other plot lines, but it doesn't feel like there's a MCU story. The multiverse stuff, it feels like every project has a different set of rules, and we're just making it up as we go along to fit whatever we need it to tie into. But I left out Loki. Loki, really good, but it felt like it's its own thing. And that's the problem. Like, I rewatched Winter Soldier, Civil War this last week, of course, with the new movie coming out. And you watch Civil War, both films, just how well they're crafted. They're just better made movies. They're more cohesive movies. They're they feel like proper films that were thought out. And then as for the MCU movies, their MCU-isms, you watch Civil War, and it seamlessly is following up character arcs from almost every movie that came before besides Thor, Hulk, and Guardians. Like, everything else feels like it's pulling into this movie. And each character is responding to everything else that's happened before, while it's also setting up Black Panther and Spider-Man, telling its own cohesive story that's very much a Captain America story about his loyalty to his friends. It matters for the MCU as a whole because the Avengers break up at the end of it. Like, it does so many things while being entertaining, and it pulls the universe together. And you look at what they're doing recently, and you just don't feel that. It doesn't feel like everything's pulling together and the plot matters. It's just so spread out, and you miss that, like, miss the excitement of the MCU as a whole. And people are like pointing out, like, there have always been lackluster MCU films. In every phase, there's a bottom tier MCU film or more. But there was a point in time where even these bottom tier ones were kind of pulled up because they felt like an important piece of the bigger picture. So they were still worth seeing to see how they set up what was next, or there was something that mattered inside of it. Like, Infinity Stones, Avengers is set up in Iron Man 2, and Infinity Stone is introduced, the Ether is introduced in Dark World. Like, they all mattered, and they kind of pulled the bad ones up because the story as a whole was good. Now, the story is so incohesive, it pulls everything down. And the good ones are less exciting, and the bad ones, it's really obvious that they're the bad ones. And you're just looking at kind of this mediocre product that's not as well crafted and feels overcooked and undercooked at the same time. Most of these clips are pulled from my Patreon live streams. I do about 6 live streams every single month. For $2 per month, $20 per year, you can get access to all the exclusive videos and live streams. For $5 per month, you get your name on my end card. At the top tier, you get a 30-minute video chat with me each month. The link down below in the description has more information.